All right. Hope you enjoyed that video by Alton Brown about the best thing he ever ate, and it's grilled pizza. So we're going to look at these questions. By the way, if you like Alton Brown, he gets really into the science of food and why certain ingredients and certain methods of cooking really work to bring out the best flavors and how to do them. He's kind of like the Bill Nye of food. So if you're into that sort of thing, check him out. He does a lot of really cool videos. Okay, so let's get into the questions from the warm up. What was the purpose of the video? How did the words add meaning to the video? How is the video content organized? And how did the grilled pizza define a place? So, author's purpose. Um, just a reminder, author's purpose is usually pretty complex. It's usually more than one answer. And in this case, I think there's definitely two answers and maybe even a couple of more. So, you could definitely argue that the purpose was to take a stand or be argumentative in some way, right? Because Alton Brown says the best pizza starts at home. And then he says that he thinks that this recipe or this method is something that you should have as a cook in your arsenal, right? And so he definitely starts off with this sort of thesis, right, or argument, and then he backs it up with some examples about how to do it and how easy it is. But it's also very much an inform and explain piece, right? Because he goes into great detail of explaining how to make this pizza at home, these two styles, and the ingredients of the dough, and what temperature to cook it, and all those sorts of things. So it definitely doesn't necessarily follow the normal stand where it's just like, here's my proof. In that proof, he gives great detail explaining how to do it because he does want you to be able to do this yourself. And so, there's a really good debate about which one of these it is. Is it more inform explain, or is it more take a stand / argument? I could also maybe see propose a solution, maybe in the sense that he he says, some people are intimidated by cooking pizza at home, or some people think that this is really hard to do, and so he's like, well, here's a really easy way to do that. And maybe even some evaluating judge because he talks about which one of his favorite. But you can get into some of those, but I really do think it's these two mainly. All right. Now, before we can answer the next question about the importance of the text or the words, the print, um, we have to think about what a multimodal text is. So basically, a multimodal text is any text that uses more than one mode to communicate. So it might use print or text, words, sound, or dialogues when talking, sound effects, music. It might use still images, and it might use moving images or video. And these are just some common examples over here that you might see. And so the example that we saw definitely had dialogue. It also had some music, definitely video, obviously, and then some text. And so when we're asking about what was the effect or purpose of that text, so now we're looking at purpose on a smaller level, right? Earlier we're looking at kind of the big overall purpose of the video or the big chunks of the video, and now we're looking at the small director or writer or author's moves and why do they do these specific things? What was the effect? What was the purpose? So the main purpose might be that it provides information so you can recreate the recipe, right? Alton Brown is a celebrity chef. He has a cooking show or more than one, and so he definitely wants you to take this home and do it yourself. But it also allows the viewer to concentrate on the technique, the ingredients, and the viewing experience all at once. So some people watch cooking shows just because they like to see beautiful food being made, and they don't necessarily ever plan to make it, right? So you can just have the nice viewing experience. The other thing is you want to see the technique, right? It's important to see how he's making the tomatoes specifically in the scene, how he's spreading them across, how he's grilling the dough, and the cheese and all those aspects. But it also gives you the ingredients at the same time, so you know exactly how much to put on your pizza dough. So if you think this could have just been like, in terms of multimodal, this could have just been a recipe, like no pictures, just the words. You need these ingredients. You put these ingredients into your pizza in these steps. You cook for this long at this temperature, and you're done. And so that definitely could have been that. And you can find this recipe online. It's not hard to find if you Google Alton Brown's grilled pizza. But this video is for a different reason, right? He wants you to see how it's made, right? He wants you to, so you can establish that technique. He wants you to know the ingredients in there so you can redo that at your house with the same ingredients, replicate it. And then part of the persuasion of this video, right, is seeing So part of the informational and explanation is how he actually cooks it and the ingredients. But part of the argumentative piece, right, or persuasive piece is like, man, that looks good. Oh, that looks easy. I can do this at home too, and really just like falling in love with the visuals of this food that looks so delicious and so easy to make. Okay, so that's the idea of multimodal is bringing in these other pieces, and specifically the text, right, is bringing in that as well. So that might be why he uses the video and the dialogue and the text together rather than just a print recipe. And when we're thinking specifically about the author move of text, especially in this scene, it's so that you can have this recipe and make it for yourself. All right, so there's a couple of organizational patterns in here that I think you can make a claim to. The first one might be problem solution. So um, Alton Brown says, a lot of people are intimidated by pizza. A lot of people go to when they think of grilling, they think of burgers, maybe steaks, and he kind of sets that up at the beginning. And he says, here might be a solution to how we can fix that problem. I'll teach you a quick and easy way to make pizza at home. The next one might be definition. Now, I could see this as definition because he kind of redefines what we think of when you think of pizza. When I think of pizza, I think of either throwing a pizza in the oven that I got out of the freezer at home, or even at a restaurant. I think of a pizza coming out of a hot oven and coming to me. And so, in order to provide a solution that he thinks is easy for people, he sort of redefines pizza as grilled homemade pizza. And he's like, if you do it this way, define it like this, then it's simple to do and very tasty. All right, so I think there is a little bit of definition happening here. All right, the next one is obviously is examples. He definitely gives two examples of pizza. He gives the margherita pizza, a very classic pizza, and then he gives another one with mozzarella and prosciutto and dates, so some more exotic flavors you may not be familiar with or ingredients you may not be familiar with. And he says, does this one first, the more classic one first, which I think is a smart move to go with something more people are familiar with, maybe sort of the original pizza, and then going to something that he really loves and is a little bit more exotic. So that was a smart move. It's like, dip your toes in here. I'm going to really into my argument with something you're familiar with, and I'm going to boom hit you with my favorite one, hit you with something new or that you may not have thought of when you think of pizza. Okay, so that's another way sort of redefining pizza too, right? Is by like, here are some other ingredients you may not have thought of. So not only is he organized this in a way of examples, but he's also organized those examples in a very smart way. It was a smart move to start with the margherita pizza and then go to the prosciutto pizza with dates. And there is a little bit of compare and contrast here, right? Like he puts the pizza side by side in the video, and he talks about how there's one's really traditional, and then this one has a really nice mix of salty and sweet. The one with prosciutto and dates. It's not a whole lot of compare and contrast. That's definitely not the main organizational pattern he uses, but he does a little bit of that as well. Okay, so the last question is, because one of the things you're going to have to do is research a place and sort of think about how that place and its culture, how that setting is defined by something. And it could be the music, it could be the food, it could be a restaurant or architecture, it could be any of those things, or politics of that era, and any of those things. And so when we think back at the last unit we just did, the fiction unit, where we looked at setting and how we define setting and how it plays out in something we've read, we're sort of trying to research that and do that now ourselves, and sort of define that. And so he does something unique. He says, most of the time when I think of pizza, I think of a loud Italian restaurant with a huge oven and I can smell the wood burning or the coal burning or something like that. And he's like, no, the best pizza starts at home. Right. And so he redefines pizza. He redefines home and what you can do there, or he tries to. And so in that case, he's done something really interesting. So when you think about this, your research topic, it can be something like your neighborhood or San Antonio, or it can be someplace super exotic. It could be a foreign country that you really want to visit, like Japan or Italy, or a city that you really love or want to visit, like New York City or LA or what have you. But you want to think about what defines it, how can we define it, and what makes it special, and use some research and some multimedia to make that happen. And we'll get more into that later.